In today's world, you want to make sure that you live your life the way that you should, and you live it big. And a good way to do that is to read a new book that I just read myself and really enjoyed. It's written by my buddy, Jeffrey Hazlett. He's joining us right now from his offices up there in New York. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, thank you. And you should live your life big or live it any way you want. And that's the way I always have. And I appreciate you letting me talk about it today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because it's a really good book. And those of you watching this, I want you to listen to this. This is not just about a book. It's about a philosophy and a way to live that can really help you as you live and as you live your life and get ahead. Before we even get into all the book, Jeff, tell us a little bit about what it's about and what you had in mind as you were writing that book that can help people.
Well, you know, for my agent's Wendy Keller. She's been a friend of mine for like 17, 18 years. You know Wendy. And
oh, yeah, wonderful lady.
Wonderful person, professional, the whole bit. She's really one of those people that goes for your jugular. I like that. I've always liked that about her, but she's got a sweet side too, but she doesn't show it very often. But she'd been after me to write the real book, the Jeff Hazlett book, you know, the essential of like, this is who you are, you know, the essence of Jeff Hazlett. And so I did. I decided to write this book called Think Big, Act Bigger. And it's got a lot of like twist in it, like the front cover. You know, the front cover shot on, you know, in New York City in the boardroom of CBS, but the back cover is shot in South Dakota. So back, it's nice. Kind of like party on the inside, you know, business on the outside. And, you know, which is a little bit of what's inside the book. How do you be rational yet irrational? But the bottom line of the book was, I'm so sick and tired of people saying they can't do things. And it's more like they can't, it's they won't. And it's about how you become a bigger, better, bolder version of your business or of yourself, whichever you'd like to choose. And I like that you said this was just as much about your personality, being the person of who you are as it is about business. I talk a lot about business, but it really truly is. You can apply this to your marriage. You can apply this to your children. You can apply this to, you know, just your own personal life. But, you know, I wrote it with a business in mind.
Yeah, I think the principles of that will apply to our personal life. So, but I'm particularly interested in the business side. And matter of fact, one of the things that I saw you helping us in that book is to kind of push and try some new things. So what I'm doing, Jeff, here, I'm using my iPad. I got it, of course, as I requested. You were very kind to send me the book. I got a chance to read that as I requested on digital form. And so here it is. We got Think Big and Act Bigger. And what I'm going to do is go in and do a screen share to let you see what it's like. It's an idea. We're going to be pushing the envelope here. And
I love it. And, you know, and even if it didn't work, who cares? Did anyone die? No one dies.
That's exactly right, you know, because here's the thing. In the book, you talk about that. And I think that's so important that we look at it and we say, okay, did anyone die? And there we are. No one.
Look at that. That's
we've actually got it on the screen now.
God, look how good looking that guy is. He's better looking
on there. And we can see it on the screen. Is that coming through for you as well?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one good looking guy. He's better looking than Trump.
Yeah, I think so. That's right. The rewards of being relentless. And this, again, applies for business and for your personal life as well. What I want to do here is we're going to jump through and go to different places in the book. The first one was a good old location 4110, or 410, I should say, which I'm sure you would know all the locations in your book here. The first one, the Caitlin Rule. Oh. I love the way you said that. I'm going to have you tell us a little bit of the story, give us a kind of condensed version of it. But I like what you say here. If I have to answer something or do something that you should be able to answer or do yourself, then why do I need you? This is important in business and in life. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the Caitlin Rule.
Yeah, I named this rule after an employee who was a real superstar. The premise of our business tall grass is if you want to run with big dogs, you got to learn to piss in the tall grass. That's our slogan for the company. So it's a very aggressive one. And here I have a big dog, someone who's going to be a superstar. 5 minutes before we're going to go and meet with a client about taking his company public, she says, should we bring color copies? And I turned to her and said, hey, look, you only get 21 questions. You're a brand new employee. You know, is that one of your 21 questions? I won't go through the whole long story, but you know, in terms of, and she said no. And I said, good, because if I have to ask you or answer that question, what do I need you for? And it's about holding people accountable to the questions they already knew the answers to. She knew the answer to that question, but yet she felt compelled to come and ask me. And I need people who are thinking big, acting bigger. I need people who are empowered to go make mistakes. I turned to her at the end and I finally said to her, hey, if I told you, yes, we want color copies, do you have time to make them? And she goes, no. And I said, never ask me a question like that again. And so, and some people think that the story is a little bit, rough. And yet at the same time, I think it's a very brilliant story in saying, look, I hired you because you're a superstar. I hired you because you're potential. I hired you to do these things. I expect you to do them. Don't ask me those questions, because if I have to answer those questions, I can do that myself.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point. As a matter of fact, I got a feeling our old buddy Peter Drucker, who gave us so much good advice, would agree when he said you should not be doing those things you can get others to do.
Yeah.
So somebody else can do that, and you're getting $1 an hour, and you can hire somebody for 10 cents to do that. You should not be doing that 10-cent thing. It seems like that correlates with the Caitlin rule.
Yeah, I remember when Peter Drucker, I first read that many years ago. I think back in the 80s is when I first read that. And I remember I used to cut my lawn, and then I finally realized, hey, I can have somebody else cut my lawn for me and get some other things done that are more important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the old law of comparative advantage that, what you can do, what you shouldn't be doing those things that someone else can do, and let somebody else do that. Old David Ricardo, the economist back in the 1700s, told us about that. And I really like that. And some other things that you had in there, I'm going to go back and share on the screen again on this so we can see what's happening on that and go to it and be able to see what's happening. And I really like the way that you talked about so many things in the book. A lot of each chapter is kind of like on its own. We can see the capabilities of it and see the possibilities when we're looking at life and how it will work. Let me see.
Well, I'm excited to see this because this is the first time I've actually seen the ebook. Now, you've got an iPad.
Yes.
It's really kind of cool because Nook right now, in terms of Barnes & Noble, is actually if you buy the new Samsung Galaxy Tab 2, you get my book for free. So, yeah, which is a really cool promotion that we've got going. So, and I do a lot with a lot of other speakers, but we were able to put together a really great promotion with Barnes & Noble.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, just I'm saying as someone who's reading a lot of books that way, I love this. You see, I can go through it very rapidly just by tapping on the screen, being able to see what's there. And also, as you can see, I've highlighted with the ability that they have at Amazon, so I can see it. And here's one I really like. This one's over here at location 650. Passion can blind you from due diligence, but it will not take you in the wrong direction if you do the right things and keep listening as you go. Passion cannot, I love this part, passion cannot override facts. Passion that pushes past facts becomes an indulgence. And if the indulgence gets too big, you cross into, here's a scary one, obsession. And that's when you lose perspective. I thought that was exceptionally good. Tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Well,
and passion should be there.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line from being incredibly brilliant and being crazy. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. With passion, it can blind you to certain things, but that passion is still there, but it goes into obsession. And you obsess about something and you get so tunnel focused in on that little item or that thing that you forget the bigger picture. So you should have that passion. And many times the facts say this, but you can override it with great passion, okay? It doesn't mean it's going to be better. It also doesn't mean it's going to be worse. The key thing is you need to be listening as you go and be able to adapt and change so that you can use that passion and channel it correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. Too often people will say, oh, well, you should just follow your passion, do that. But it seems like there's more to it than that. We've got to have the passion, but it's also got to be you're really smart on something that people really care about.
Yeah, I always talk about people with passion, follow your passion, but if you're not getting paid, you're going to starve. You're going to starve, So it's great to follow passion. Don't get me wrong. I love passion because passion can overcome a lot of things, right? But in the end, you gotta eat. And so you have to do the things that are necessary in order to drive and live off of that passion.
Yeah, it really seems like it's a combination of actually the intersection of three things: your passion, but also the market's willingness and ability to pay for something, and being able to have that in a way that others can't do it for cheaper than you, that you provide a distinct advantage.
Yeah.
And I seem like I love the way you have that where it all comes together. And when it comes together and fits, then we get a chance to see the kind of capabilities and we get a chance to see how this thing's really going to work in the real world to come about and give us what we need.
Well, and that's what I try to do in the book, Terry. I know as you're probably bringing up another section there, is I try to ground it in real world things. Look, I've run and bought companies, over 250 companies in my career, 25 billion in transactions, and I was a Fortune 100, C-suite officer running, a business of $17 billion. But, it doesn't make a difference whether it's on Wall Street or it's on, Main Street in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I'm from. It's all about, making sure you get grounded in doing the right things. And that's what I try to do in this book.
Yeah, exactly. It's doing the right things and making sure that what you're doing then allows people to use that, and making sure that you've got it in a way that they can use real well. I want to bring up another section here in the book that I thought was particularly good that you talked about. And this one really comes back to a lot that I have done and talked about in my life. When you said, well, you were talking here, you said, wait, did I just say your systems are connected to your authenticity in thinking and acting bigger? And in your normal shy way, Jeff, you say, you bet your sweet ass I did. I added the word sweet there.
Yeah.
And if you want specifics, I've discussed and outlined the systems below. Tell us a little bit about that. And that's so important that your systems you put in place really say a lot about who you are, where you've put your time, money, and energy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I work hard. It's called hard work because it's hard. That's first of all.
Yeah.
But I also am fairly lazy. I like to do things that we can step and repeat. So I like to make sure that we don't get bogged down in the things that take a lot of time. And so I put things in place in our company and then make sure that everyone's using it. So let's use Salesforce, for example. I've watched sales teams in my own team start managing in Excel spreadsheets. And I'm going, wait a second, we pay tens of thousands of dollars for this license in Salesforce. Why aren't you using it? So I force people to use those kinds of tools so that we don't, squirt out. I call them squirrels. That's what happens lots of times in businesses. And I mentioned this in the book about Doug the talking dog. And every once in a while, you have this dog and they're running around, squirrel. And we do that in our business all the time. We do that in speeches. We do that in interviews, And really this is about saying, look, there are certain things we should repeat. There's certain standard operating procedures for everything you do that are very effective for your business. And you have to make people do them. And sometimes they don't like to do it. And sometimes I don't like to do it. But if it helps me get to a bigger place, to a place where I haven't been before with more numbers, more market penetration, with greater reach, man, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you watching this, you'll notice we've got in the section here, and I highlighted this as I liked it. You'll see the points that he puts in place there, the systems for all these little details, and whatever it is in your business or your life, things that are important. If you're a concert pianist, you might say, well, I'm not in business. Hey, there's certain disciplines and certain systems you want to go through. And Jeff, I loved what you said here. Disciplined systems keep your cadence from flowing out of control and undoing the focus you worked so hard to create in the last chapter.
Let me give you a great example, because I think cadence is like a river. It's like something that flows through your business, and you can walk into a business at any given moment and see its cadence, its energy, its way it flows. And you even if you watch TV and you watch dramas or comedies, you see people running around the background. The businesses themselves take on its own character, and you see that character. Let's just give you an example. One of the little things you had on there was email.
Yes.
Well, you really have to set the team down, and we have a team about 50 or so, and you have to have a conversation and going, okay, what's it mean when you get an email from somebody? Does that mean you answer them or don't answer them? What's the speed in which you answer them? Should you get back within an hour, or should it be by the end of the close of the business day? What is the cadence that you want to put in place? What is the promise that you guys all want to operate under? Because two people have two different opposing views as to what they think. So it's important for you to develop those systems that say, when I send you an email, I'm expecting an answer back within the day. And if you don't have that, you have one person who's out of sync and then throws everybody else off, and you can only move as fast as your slowest common denominator. So
yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, let me dig a little bit deeper on that as well, because that's so good what you said. And I think it actually has to be calibrated based on certain criteria. Like, for instance, in the book, I didn't even mark it, but I thought it was one of the great things. There was so much. By the way, look at this. I got so many things I want to talk to you. We could be about 15 hours on this book, all the stuff there. But you mentioned something that, like, for instance, when you were at Kodak, and you were the chief marketing officer there, you wanted to get through to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And you had sent messages, you'd done all the polite things, all the nice things, didn't work. And then finally you did something where you said, hey, send this message to Trump, to his assistant, we want to spend $100 bazillion. I think
it was a million. It was a million.
1 billion,
And actually, I didn't even say that, Terry. I said, pick up the phone and call Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we can't do that. I go, why not? And they said, well, we don't know his number. So I literally picked up the phone right then and dialed 411 and said, I'd like to speak to Donald Trump. And I said, do you have a number for Donald Trump? And they said, no, we have a Trump organization. Great, give me that number. So the operator gives me the number. I dial it. Receptionist answers. I said, I'd like to speak to Mr. Trump. I'm sorry, he's not available. I said, can I speak to his assistant? Yes, you may. I said, what's her name? It's Rona. Rona's still his assistant today, by the way. And she puts me through to Rona. Rona, Jeff Hazel, Chief Marketing Officer of Eastman Kodak. I'd like to speak to Donald Trump, please. She said, he's not available. I tell you what, Rona, here's what I have. I have $1 million to spend with Mr. Trump. I have an hour to do it. Now, if he can't do it, I'm okay with that. Tell him I'm going to spend it with one of his competitors because I want to use him and do something with the television show. And he can call me back in the next hour, or I completely understand. 15 minutes later, Donald Trump calls me back.
How about that?
And that's how we got the product on the Celebrity Apprentice. And that's how I went on to be on the Celebrity Apprentice for 3 years. And that's how I went on to become, a friend of Donald Trump as well.
Yeah. And I think that is living big and acting bigger. I think it's the idea you're saying, okay, you're leveraging what you could do at that time. Obviously, you've got a lot of prestige when you're CMO of Eastman Kodak. That's something.
And I had $1 million to spend. Okay.
And you really did.
But I did my homework, meaning what will he want to hear to call me back? I'm just being a good sales guy. I'm making a connection, and I know that his ego, he doesn't like to lose, okay? And he wants the money, okay? So those were two of the things that I was able to pull out. So that's one thing you want to, if you don't take away from the book, you should do your homework. I mean, that's a big thing. But the other thing is, just like you say, look, I'm from South Dakota, a place most people only know on the map, and I don't know that you can't call these people. Just call them. Go ahead. What are they going to do? What's the worst they can say? No, or they don't return your call.
Yeah, okay. Nobody's going to die, as you say in your book also.
Repeat after me. No one's going to die.
Exactly. And I think that's it. It's the reality of it. We go, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't. And we stop ourselves. We hold ourselves back because we're saying, oh, gee, I'm not worthy, or, oh, I'd bother him or so. But I think what you did there at Kodak, many people are going to think, well, wait a minute, I don't have $1 million. I'm not with Kodak. Yeah, but that's not the point. As you say in the book so well, do what you can. Use that. Teddy Roosevelt said it well. He said, do what you can with what you got right where you are. And I think you might not have the $1 million, but you got something, and you got to do your homework as you did. You learned what Trump was looking for. And you say, $1 million, I'm going to spend it with you or with them. And you decide you've got 60 minutes to go. Okay, ready? The clock is running.
The clock is ticking, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was really good. Now, another thing you talked about here, I'm going to go back and share a screen again. I think one thing we've got to be aware of is there's a time to prepare. And the preparation that you do and the way you put preparation in place, I think is extraordinarily important. Jeff, I'm going over here to section 1988, location on here on the ebook that I got. And I love this one. The very important thing that we don't often think about. We think about go, go, go all the time. I love the way that you live in New York and South Dakota. Hey, I was born and raised in the Midwest myself, in Michigan. And so we have a style of hard work, but we also take time to relax. You said here something very important. The off season is when professional athletes get bigger, stronger, faster, and better at what they do, improving and developing the skills they need to pull and stay ahead of the competition and improve the quality of what they do and who they are. I learned to use my off seasons in speaking. You and I are both professional speakers between Thanksgiving and New Year's to learn to be a better speaker, connect more effectively with my audience, speak more profoundly, and thus increase my value and grow my business. Tell us about the time of off season and what we need to do as professionals, whatever profession we're in.
That's what I'm trying to get together with other speakers that I really appreciate, or I see these great speakers out there and I study them. So I actually watch their videos. I get their tapes. I read their books. I listen to, to their cadence, how they deliver it. I saw a speech this summer at the National Speakers Association, which I thought was one of the best speeches I've seen in many, many years.
And who was that, by the way?
Mark.
Mark Sharon Brock, yes. Yeah. My cousin Sharon Brock. I say is my cousin.
Well, I tell you what, it was so masterful. And I was backstage, because I don't like to hang out. Most people don't know this. I don't like to hang out in crowds. I don't like to be around. I'm kind of I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert. And so I was backstage watching the cameras in the green room and watching his speech and the little subtleties that he did. Everything was masterful. And so I look for those things and I appreciate those and I find out how I could do them. And many times what I do is I actually go over to Augustana College, now Augustana University in Sioux Falls when I'm back home, and I rent out the recital hall. And I stand on stage to an empty audience and I go through my speech. I go through, where should I stand? How should I look? What's the way in which I should hold myself? Because my presence on stage is just as important as the words that I deliver. And so I practice that. So, and I've listened to some of the greatest storytellers, guys like Jerry Clower, and, who's a comedian
Yes.
from Mouth of the South, and the old time guys. And I love to do those things and pick up and then watch other performers who aren't even close to what I would do. All right. And yet I might not like what they do or like their message, but I do get something from that experience of learning. And many times, and a lot of times, Terry, as you well know, it's what not to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about avoiding that and to do it. But I really appreciated that. It's like, people will see Jeffrey Hazel and think, wow, he's just going at 100 miles an hour all the time. Well, no, you're a human being. And I've seen you. I can attest you're a human being.
Yeah.
And there's times you perform brilliantly. And I think it's kind of like in the Navy SEALs training. They're quiet and they're reserved. They're rejuvenating, making sure they get the right rest, right kind of nutrition, all those kind of good things, studying and learning so that when the time comes for action, they're able
You're on. Yeah. Well, and I actually talk about this a little bit in the book. My job is to take the stage. And even when I'm consulting the company, there's a mark that I have to hit. And that Caitlin rule was a great example of that. She's getting me prepared to go and take a mark on the stage. We're about to go meet with a client. She takes care of all the details behind me, and I have a team that does that. So I know what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. And I don't have to worry about those other details because I've got expertise, specialists who take care of those things. So I can do what I need to do. Because quite frankly, to give you a good example, my wife travels with me a great deal. Now, and she is the boss. As you well know, anyone that's ever met her, she's the boss.
Tammy's a wonderful lady. To be sure and tell her we all said hello.
She'll watch this, and so she'll say, "Yep, she is." And she only comes up to about right here on me. So she's really tiny, but she's powerful, extremely powerful. But one of the things she does for me, and it's just so, she takes care of making sure my outfit's ready. Now, you think like, well, geez, here's a powerful woman, very intelligent, got more education than I have, more degrees than I have, smarter than I have, everything. Yet that's what she does for me. And because do you know what it would be like me ironing my shirt and getting stuff ready 15 minutes? I'm going through a mental game.
Yeah.
I'm going through what I'm going to say. The theme of the group is this. They want me to cover these 5 points. Where is it best to say that? Okay, they're running late, and they've told me this. I need to pull 3 slides because now I'm at 40 minutes, not 60 minutes. I need to now do this. Those are the things I need to make sure I'm doing. And, a lot of people leave that to chance, and I don't leave that to chance.
Yeah, I think that's important. We don't leave any of the important details to chance. We're there. And at the same time, we've trained enough so that we're able to adapt and roll with the punches. Something changes. Like you said, you were scheduled for 60 minutes. Suddenly, sorry, Jeff, we got to cut you to 30 or 40.
30. I had that the other day. And, and then, by the way, I get so carried away in a story that all of a sudden I look up, I'm out of time, and I still got 4 or 5 slides. And you have to end it, and you do it well. That's right. The essence of thinking big and acting bigger. It's not the lucky who win in the end. It's the relentless. It is folks like you, Terry, and others who are relentless at what we do, at improving ourselves and practicing and studying and preparing and doing all the things that are necessary to do battle in the way in which we do battle every single day. And
yeah, absolutely.
They're looking for the shortcut. You're looking for the magic pill. Let me tell you one. There's not one. There's not. I'd have bought it. All right. I'd have had it. Again, it's called hard work because it's hard.
Yep, that's exactly right. And you got to be willing to pay that price. To borrow from what you said in an earlier book, I love the saying that we either got to cowboy up or go sit in the truck.
That's right.
And I think I do that in South Dakota, and it applies in New York City also.
I forgot that saying. I got to bring that one out more often.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best. You've said a lot of good things. I've read all your books, and I really like this one. I think it really goes even beyond what you did, the great work you did before, and I love the work that you've done before. But this one, I think, gives us an attitude of how to do it. I found for me it was really helpful. I read your book twice.
Oh, wow.
Go through that, and I really appreciate you sending that over to look at.
I did the audio today. As I mentioned before we started the interview, I was doing the audio for audio.com.
How'd that go for you?
Yeah, really good. They put you in 2 sessions when they do that, 2 6-hour sessions, and we got through 3/4 of it today. And I was on a roll, and I just wouldn't stop. But I'm reading my book again, and I'm reading it out loud, and I'm having fun with it. And And I'm one of those people, I read ahead as even though I'm reading the book and saying it, I'm reading ahead, and I found myself choking because I was laughing because there's certain lines that I really like and going, this is pretty good. And this is a book that I really like. I love because it's more, this is the one that I put more of me in than in any other book, where I've just said, no, I'm going to say it like it is. And I'm tired of people, and I said this in the pre-release video. I am tired of charlatans. I am tired of people who are telling you get rich quick. I am tired of all the people saying, do it exactly this way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm tired of that. You can do it any way you want. Look, I said this before. I'm from a place that most people only know on a map. Yet, I have been selected and have the privilege to serve in a Fortune 100 company, the elite of the elite. Only 500 officers that are part of a Fortune 100 in the world. And I was able to do that. Well, it's because I'm relentless. It's because of these things. And people tell you as a speaker, as an author, you must do this, you can do it any way you want. But, you'll find that if you do it certain ways, it's easier. You find if you do it certain ways, it's more effective. You find if you do it, but it's okay to do it the other way and write. It's like I wear cowboy boots. I wear jeans. I don't wear a suit and tie, yet I'm on television. And you wouldn't think that. Or I'm in a Fortune 100 position. I'm the leader of the C-suite network, and you would think that you should look a certain way, dress a certain way. And this book is to tell you, you don't have to do that. Do it your way, any way you want, but just do it. Be a bigger, badder, bolder version of you.
Yeah, I love the way you say that. And then also at the end of the book, you came out and said something that I thought was so right, that you say it's not just about pushing for me, helping others. And the way that you give to others, you talk about the way that you have, and I've seen this. Matter of fact, I can lay testament that in the times when the cameras are not on, when there's not a crowd around, Jeff, you have helped people like me, my partner Gina Carr in our book. We appreciate that greatly and the kind of things you've done. Tell us about the importance of going out of your way to help others and where that comes in, particularly when the cameras are not there and when it's not going to be seen by the world.
Well, I think the one word that I try to use in this, and I even say this about me, and I even take criticism sometimes with people who say, well, he's full of himself. Okay, so what? Get over it. I'm okay with that, but I'm just being authentic. And by the way, it's not hubris if it's true. So that's the difference. And that's what I tell these people. If I've been successful because I've been successful, and I don't mind saying it. It's okay with that. I wear that with a badge. In fact, right now, so many people are saying, oh, we should fail fast. That's for losers. You should win fast, okay? But let's get back to the servant mentality, because I think that's one of the there was squirrel there for a second, Terry. Squirrel.
Yeah, that's right. There's squirrels. They come in there. Even in New York City, you have some squirrels.
Hey, man, you put a quarter in, you get to go for the full ride here. This is what this is all about.
There we go.
This caffeine, the 4 espressos, is kicking in at this point.
Dunkin' Donuts coffee, I understand.
Hey, I love Dunkin' Donuts.
Absolutely.
America runs on Dunkin', and so does my podcast as well.
There we go. Your podcast there. I listen to your podcast, by the way. And by the way, I'm interrupting you here, Jeff, but those of you that are watching this, he's got a great podcast that I am really enjoying. Jeff, I was listening to you just yesterday on the treadmill. Go on downstairs on the treadmill.
Do you remember who I was interviewing?
With Steve Rubin of Edelman.
Oh,
really good.
Great guy, really good guy. He's runs the digital side of the company at Edelman, and he also has a podcast. I like to tell mine's a little bit bigger, but it's a lot of fun. But I like him because he's a really smart guy, and I like to learn from smart guys, and so that's why I had him on the show. And he's also funny as heck, and so we had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, important to do that. But then tell us about the times we know we want to give, but there's a balance in it, and I think there's an overall life strategy. And it's not from a cruel Machiavellian way. It's more of like, let's live life fully. And that means you go out of your way to help the right people. What kind of strategy, what kind of philosophy do you have on that? Where to do it, where not to?
Well, I do it all. I try to do it all the time, period. I just try to do it all the time. I answer every email. I answer everybody that reaches out to me. I try to get back to them. I might tell them, look, I can't do it. That's not what my thing. But Gary Rifkin said something, and I don't know if this original quote from him at the NSA meeting this summer, and I'm using it, and I'm actually crediting him. He said, if you give, you get.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, is that so true? And I never heard that saying before. My belief is I've always helped other people. I always want to help other people. And my staff even get mad at me sometimes because I take all these meetings with people who want to ask advice. Well, there's a pony in there somewhere, right? I mean, there's something for them. And I just think, look, I've been given a God-given gift. I've been given certain abilities. I've been able to make the kind of money that I've been able to make doing what I do. And why not share that? So if somebody asks me for a forward a book, I'm on. Somebody asks me for a quote for their book, I'm in. What can I do to help you? Because I think that you have a responsibility for giving back to raise the profession, to raise the industry, to help other people, and to raise the world in general. So, I clean the bathroom at my office so that people see that I clean the bathroom.
Yeah, I love that part of your book where you talk about clean your home bathrooms.
Yeah,
getting out there and literally doing that. There's something that happens with that. I find it actually therapeutic at times. Sometimes I'm so concentrated on things here at work. And when I read that, you were saying, I thought, this is good. I like doing the laundry, cleaning up, doing the dishes, things like that really help me to kind of free up. And then, hey, I got an idea. I could do da-da-da-da. And I wouldn't have had that if I were still back there concentrating and focused.
Or do an email every 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're on Facebook and 2 hours later you realized, oh my gosh, I just wasted 2 hours. But, and that's okay to some extent too, to veg out. I just think it's your responsibility. I think it's part of being a well-rounded individual to help other people. And that's what we're here to do. It makes my life richer. It makes me, it enriches my life a great deal. I feel better about myself, but not to look for the pats on the back, but just to help other people.
Yeah, well, we will leave it there. Jeff, you have written an excellent book. And for those of you that are watching this, do yourself a favor. Don't do it for me. Don't even do it for Jeff. For yourself. Get out there and get the book. The book is going to be one that's going to help you a lot. Matter of fact, here we got some. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to share my screen, but not from my iPad. I'm going to share a screen from here. And Jeff, can you see that on there right now? Think bigger. And what we're going to do is we're going to make that much bigger because you want to think big and act really big. You like the way I did that, Jeff?
That was pretty good. That was a nice exit. Very nice exit.
I thought that would be good. So get out there. And by the way, Jeff, where do they get this book?
Hey, you can get it, certainly on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. I mentioned that you can actually, if you buy a brand new Nook, you can get it for free. It's one of the 4 books they're giving away for free, which is awesome for us. It's tens of thousands of new books for us that go out. With that, maybe a couple 100,000 actually by the time it's done. But, your local bookstore. Don't forget your local bookstore. Don't forget your local merchants. I love local guys. I love the independents as much as I do the big chain. So you can get it certainly as an iBook. You can get it any way you want. You can get it. You can go find it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the ebook version of it. Also looking forward to seeing the paper version. See, I didn't see the backside of it like you had there.
The backside, it's so cool. This is, again, the front cover we shot in New York, just up here, just a little ways, in the boardroom of CBS, because I was filming earlier, taping earlier that day, and then we came in, and then another photographer, I did that on the hottest day in New York, and then on the coldest day in New York, we shot the back cover of me looking out over the city and from behind. And I was adamant about doing that because usually you don't see 2 photographs on a book. Nice. And I wanted to show, a little bit, because I live in Sioux Falls and I live in New York City, and I wanted to have that. And I thought that would be fun.
That's right, because you can.
Exactly.
On both counts. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. And thank you, dear viewer, for being here. Seriously, get out there, get the book. You will be a better person for it. I'm Terry Brock. Thank you very much for joining us.